See, I named all the birds, explained all the non-radio I'm doing. Didn't read a book today. I ate 3 meals today. They were all delicious. 3, yeah, oh God, 3. Not 4, not 5, not 2, 3. The first meal is just fruit and granola and yogurt. It's relatively modest. No bacon, no eggs, no hash browns, no nothing good. Just fruit and granola and yogurt. And boy, that was the highlight of my morning. Tells you how things are going around here. K6CY back to on to mush mush Jeffrey KM6TVJ. Take it, Jeffrey.
KM6TVJ here. Glad to see you guys. I had a great day of work, pardon my French, and just enjoying an evening. I've already finished my first glass of scotch. It was not full. Yep, there we go. So I may need a refill. You may see me walk off. There you go. Yeah, the ice is important. I'm going for the expensive stuff, the Trader Joe's blended scotch. Is what I'm pouring tonight. Well, I've got Lagavulin 16, but it seems a Tuesday night not quite right for that. So that's all I've got for the good of the group. I'll hand it back to Mike, and he can judge me on my Scotch choices. KM6TVJ.
I don't know what to say. I'm totally at a loss for words. You know, you had me at ice. All right, so Fred is recommending Glenfiddich 18, which of course is good. And for you firearms aficionados, you can see my background. And this is a class that I taught, and Woody was the range master for this one. And we're in a position called Sul, S-U-L, which is some Spanish word for south. And rather than being behind one of your buddies like this, you do this kind of thing, and it's a very comfortable way of holding the weapon while you're not pointing at your buddy's back. So it's very typically used in a breaching situation where you're back to front, back to front, back to front. So you can do this and you're safe. You're pointing in a safe direction. Don't do that, Woody. I had. Okay, so everybody knows about the chat function on this program, right? You can chat, and things like that. And you can do all sorts of other things, like you can go to speaker view, and it'll give you a list across the top of things that you can look at. And if you can double click on one thing, it'll make it, like 2/3 of the screen. And that's really kind of cool. So that's generally what I do, is I listen to people in the gallery view, but then if I want to zero in on something, I go to speaker view and then double click on whoever I want to look at.
Okay, I'm going to try pushing the space bar and pushing the microphone at the same time. It's a little easier than walking and chewing gum or rubbing your stomach and patting your head, which I used to be able to do. Anyhow, I got this. I don't know if you saw the colors changing. I got this ring light via Walmart. Actually came from Hong Kong, but it got here about 10 days faster than they said. And instead of running the 300 watt equivalent work light that I had on LED light, I just have this little light on, and they actually pointed at the wall in front of me, and it's actually turned down about as low as it'll go. Seems to work okay, and not blinding me. Anyhow, I'm going to give it over to Fred.
Gosh, what has happened in the meantime? Let's see. I've muted, and I've galleried, and I've thought of some wisecracks that I haven't made. So I'm congratulating myself on my self-control. That's about it. K6CY, back to Jeffrey. KM6TVJ.
KM6TVJ, with you now. Back to you. Considering my next choice of scotch for the evening. I will try to do something better, but I really don't want to add ice to something that's actually good scotch. What else do I have? As I said on the FM that we had, today is my 2-year anniversary of being a ham. I'm feeling pretty happy about that. So I know I'm quite the newbie compared to you guys, but I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. What else do I have? I keep trying to get my home-built 6-meter antenna to work, and it's not quite dialing in. I will either rebuild it, or I will take it apart and make a 2-meter Yagi and then play with some satellites. It's just wire, so I can chop it up. That is all I have. I will hand it off to WB6UNG, KM6, me, KM6TVJ. Randy, take it away.
Hey, all day works. Okay. I guess it's working. KM6TVJ in the group, WB6UNG. Yeah, I just head downstairs for a minute, so I missed the front end of this, but thanks for putting me on the list there. Wow. Well, congrats on 2 years. It's funny, I'm coming up on 2 years, but that's actually my re-entry back into ham radio after about maybe 10 years of just, you know, I was doing other things. But yeah, this summer coming up, in fact, it's pretty much around June, I kind of restarted it. And sometime during that summer, 2 years ago, I got my extra. I had my advanced since I was a kid. But, you know, I just said, I'm going to study for it, and did. And, you know, I didn't change anything particularly, although I do have the ability now to head down to the bottoms of the bands for CW mostly. But yeah, I'm really thoroughly enjoying this hobby more than any time that I've had it in my whole life. And I've been one since 12. It's just been the most fun time. So with all the technology that we have available to us now, and sharing it, and this stuff, video and the whole thing, it's just awesome. So having a blast. Okay, let me pass it back up to Mike, and around we go. K1MIX in the group, WB6UNG.
Hey, Randy, thank you very much. Good to have you on board. Anybody else out there want to join the round table tonight? Let me know now. Well, I don't hear anybody. Everybody is sort of grasping the concept of muting, unmuting, and things like that. So what I've done is I've established a protocol of all muted. So everybody's muted unless you unmute yourself. And so it turns out that when I have the unmute clicked over here, all it does is send you a message to unmute. It doesn't actually unmute. So you have to unmute yourself. And at the end of your transmission, you can remute yourself, and I can help you with that. So that's right, Geoff. By the way, you're not having any problems with the microphone on sideband, and it was a little bit intermittent on the FM net. So that's one of the problems that I took the radio up to have fixed, and I am not convinced that he actually fixed it. But let me know what model microphone that is, and I probably have 5 or 9 of them lying around someplace, and we can swap them out. And once again, if you want to, for instance, if you're transmitting and you want to zoom in on my meter, you can go to speaker view and then double click on the meter close up, and that'll show you exactly what's going on. And like that. So all good. And Randy, I'm really glad you guys are, adopting the concept of possibility of using Zoom on the nets, because I really enjoy it, and I think everybody else does too. And so anyway, it's something to try. Over to you, Woody, W6WDY, K1MIX. I'm going to mute myself. You need to unmute you.
K1MIX, W6WDY. I think I am unmuted. Yeah, well, congratulations on 2 years. I've only got about 58 years only in the hobby. But Randy, I got my notice when I was 12 years old too. So that's interesting. My parents and I had a hand that lived behind us, and I had built a Heathkit CB radio from a kit, and it didn't work. Well, I saw his antennas, so I carried my bundle of junk over there, and he was a electrical engineer for I think Lockheed in Burbank when it was down at the Burbank airport, and he went through it and fixed it. And he says, "I got something better." Well, of course, this was in the days of all boat anchors, all tube, and he had to stay. He was a hermit, practically, literally, and I looked at all this equipment he had, and he would sit me down, and I got the bug. So my parents and I went to Lockheed Amateur Radio Club in 1960, and we took the novice class. All three of us learned the Morse code. Of course, I knew Morse code because I flew with my dad, and we had to know Morse code because of the flying, beacons. But I didn't know it at that, Anyhow, it was cool. We all three got our license, and I was Whiskey November 6, Hotel Zulu. And that was a pretty cool CW call. Anyhow, I'm going to turn it over to John. KM6JS to take it to group, W6WDY.
All right, Woody, as long as I can push two buttons at the same time. Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, like you and Randy having your license for so long. I think Fred's had his license for quite a while. I'm only about, it's 3 years, a little over 3 years. 2017, I took the tech in the general with Mark Moore, who I guess has moved to Montana. I didn't even realize it's the same guy that was HRO, and I've never been to HRO, and I guess I never will since they closed down. It's kind of sad. When I was a kid, my cousin and I would love to go to Lafayette Electronics or Radio Shack or any place like that. I think there was some salvage place, Apex or something down in the valley. Anyhow, I'm going to give it over to Mr. Fred.
Okay. Let's see. Old times. Yeah, so congratulations on your second anniversary. I, like so many others on this round table, have celebrated my 2-year anniversary twice. I'm a little slow. I'm not the quick learner that some of you are. I was 14 before I got my novice, WN6LEE, back in the 60s. And that was the most exciting time, when all I had was a Johnson Viking Ranger transmitter, and I was limited to crystals because I was a novice, and I had my SX101A receiver and my vertical on the roof that I had scripted and saved and stolen to obtain, and all I could do was CW. Those were the exciting days. It was all brand new. I was young. I couldn't believe that I could do this. And like that there, it's the first time I proved to myself that I could actually do something that wasn't getting me in trouble. So it was really, really super, super cool. But I went to college and got married and let it lapse. And so it took me till 99 when I went back to do it again. But the old nerves were still alive enough. Oh, I did get my general. Okay, so I got my general, after with the novice. So it expired like in 70 or something. And 99, yeah. So I went in and the nerves were still there, and I had studied all summer. And so I took all the tests through extra and passed them all. I got one wrong out of the whole bunch. And I did the 20 minutes, 20, Morse code, and it was all to prove something to myself. And I guess I did. So here I am. And I didn't do anything with the ham radio license for at least 10 years, except be happy that I got it. And so for the past 8 or 10 years, here I am. And that's my life story. And let's see, what else did I have? Oh yeah, Mid-Valley Electronics is where I got probably the radio, the receiver. And Henry Radio down in off the 405 is where I got my Johnson Viking and my vertical antenna. Anyway, those were the days. K6CY, passing it on to Jeffrey, KM6TVJ.
I have not gone back for my second drink, so I'm not happy. I am still trying, as I told you guys before, to get my worked all states with 100 watts and a wire. And the bands are opening up a bit, but I've got these holes west of the Mississippi. And I know it's just because of population, because it's Montana and South Dakota. I need to find a ham in Montana and a ham in South Dakota, and I don't think there are just that many people there. So most of the rest of my quest is east of the Mississippi. I just got New Hampshire last night. So the bands are opening up. If 100 watts in a wire up a tree can hit, and this is a single sideband. I'm not on FTA yet, so that's some pretty good news. That's about it. I guess everybody's just ordering their parts online, not going to HRO, which is pretty sad because I liked going in there and talking to guys. They were good guys. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Randy, WB6UNG, KM6, TVJ.
Alt A does it. I like that. I can hold the space bar down. KM6TVJ and the group WB6UNG. And even as a novice going down there and buying crystals, these little square little boxes with 2 prongs that you plug in, and each crystal, you know, was on like 40 meters. I think I had a half a dozen of them or something. And they had this big, huge pile, this table with this huge pile of these crystals, and you had to rummage through the pile to pick out the frequencies that you were interested in. That's pretty nice. You plugged them into my ICO 720 transmitter, so we had 75 watts and crystal controlled. That was fun. Anyway, memories. Let's see what else is exciting going on. Well, I tried to order some food from one of my favorite Thai restaurants in Antra on Sunday. We were so looking forward to it. And they actually have an online ordering system, which on the surface looks fantastic. I mean, it really was amazing. And we know what we like there. So I either call a restaurant up and order what you want, but, you know, I went on, they have the menu on there and everything was so smooth. So I ordered it all. We were actually going to have a couple of people come over here to join us, which was a risk, but worth trying. Anyway, that was in the afternoon, Sunday. And then I get a call at, I wanted them to deliver this stuff at like 7 p.m. And I get a call at around 5. They said, you know, we got to shut down now, you know, the curfew and all this. And I said, well, what happens if I come down right now and pick it up? No, we got to clean up and we got to close by 6. Anyway, that was Sunday, and it's still that way, of course. I really was looking forward to this amazing meal that I hadn't had since, it's been months and months and months, you know, just because of this whole Corona thing. So we were so excited about finally getting a meal we know all about and thoroughly enjoy, but it just didn't work. Anyway, we'll do it again next week, hopefully hopefully we won't have any more, after a few more days of this craziness, people will get a little bit less crazy, and life it will just be bad. It's bad enough just with the, you know, the coronavirus thing, but the curfew and the violence and all that crap, yeah, it's got to stop. Let's hope. All right. Anything else exciting in the world of radio? Not this round, maybe next. Back up to Mike. K1MIX of the group WB6UNG.
Well, thank you, Randy. I muted you. Okay, so everybody, when you finish your transmission, check and see if I've gotten impatient and muted you, because sometimes that happens. and don't want to double mute, which would mean unmute. So anyway, check on that. So I think we're all getting the hang of it. I think that's really good. Ham radio, yeah, I like it. I got licensed in 1999. I was a late bloomer. I had actually been exposed to it in junior high school. My band director had a mobile installation in his 49 Chevy. I had no idea what kind of radio it was or who he was talking to, but I thought it was mighty cool. And so that was my first exposure to ham radio. And I was, fascinated by it, but I never did anything about it because I was focused on other things. You get to be 13 or 14 and you think a little less about radios. But I finally got around to it, and the Y2K fear was instrumental in my talking myself into getting a radio license. So I did that in 1999, and during that period in California, the call signs were the Kilo Foxtrot. So my original call was Kilo Foxtrot 6, Victor Foxtrot Tango. It just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? So after a while, and I can't remember when I got my general. I just don't recall. And I think in 2014, I upgraded to extra, and through some quirk of fate, I got them all right, got 100% on the test, which clearly means I cheated, right? All right, so that's okay. And I remember even some of it, so that's a good thing. And as far as Montana, N6 MGM is got to be a Montana station. He was the guy that was the manager at HRO. So you have a good shot at actually making contact there, Geoff. And I'm wondering, since you have absolutely no problem at all with the microphone on sideband, I wonder if it's an FM issue. I really don't know, but it's something to look into. Like I said, I have probably several that we can substitute. W6WDY to take it, Woody, unmute yourself. K1MIX.
Thank you, Mike. K1MX W6WY. It said unmute. Hopefully I did it. I'm so impressed with you guys that are extras. I've been a general for about 55 years, and I keep buying all these extra class license manuals and books and everything, and they keep becoming obsolete before I learn how to do anything. And I'll get real busy and I'll read them for about 2 weeks, and I'm going, I don't remember any of this stuff back in the 60s. What are they talking about? But I doubt, at my age, if I'll ever upgrade to extra. I really don't care. But I'm really impressed with those that do, because it's a tough test, and it's getting tougher. Jim was saying that the new test coming out, I think in July, is tougher than they've had ever. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I've got enough frequencies to play on. My first radio was a War Surplus Bravo Charlie 669, BC 669, crystal controlled, 80 meters, 75 watts, AM and CW, came out of a Jeep, weighed about 100 pounds, and that wasn't the power supply. That was on the floor underneath the desk. We called it the Black Monster. And we used to buy those crystals that Randy's talking about, but we'd always buy them that were low in frequency. Then we would take like borax or whatever in a mirror, and we would grind them and put them back in the case and zero beat them until we got them within the novice portion of the CW band. So that was a lot of fun. Not really, but it worked out just perfectly well. And now I'm surrounded with more radios than I've ever had in my life. And I'm in a HOA restricted area, so I've got less antennas than I've ever had in my life. There's got to be something wrong with that. Back over to you, John. KM6JS W6WDY.
All righty, buddy. Thank you. W6 WDY KM6JS. Yeah, that's well, of course, I never played back in those days, but radio. We had the CB sets. We had, of course, had crystals, unless you were fortunate enough to have an expensive one that had all 23 channels, later 40. But yeah, that's pretty ambitious to grind crystals to get different frequencies. That's pretty amazing. I can't even picture it. But you know, I used to play with CB radios. I didn't have any money, so you know, I learned how to splice coax quite efficiently, and dig in the cable trash can and get RG59 or whatever it was, 75 ohm coax, and splice that into some 50 ohm coax. And when I finally had enough money to run RG8, I was amazed there was no damn difference. So anyhow, over to Fred, T6CY.
Let's see. Did I guess I'm unmuted. Did you? I'm unmuted. No, I'm not unmuted. I am unmuted. Okay. I didn't do anything. Where was I? Midnight Repairman. That would be Randy, who goes out in the middle of the night and starts tinkering with his rotor. Let's see. Montana was my last station. I mean, my last state too. I had all 49 forever and ever and ever and ever. This is, you know, in ancient days when dinosaurs roamed the earth, you know, about 3 or 4 years ago. And I did get it, and I've got my 50 states. But yeah, Montana was tough. And yes, we do have an inside man. You could probably even call him up and arrange a date or contact N6MGM. Mark, I am sure, would be very happy to accommodate you in any mode that of your choosing. Let's see, what else is new? Not much. K6CY, passing it on to Geoff, KM6TVJ.
Yeah, as far as my history, I got my tech and general on June 2nd, 2018. I'm looking at the reports up here. And then I got my extra March 16th of last year, the day after my birthday, because I felt like it. I got 1 or 2 wrong. I forget. I felt really good about it in any case. So it was just one of those challenges I set for myself, and I went and did it. Thai restaurants. My absolute favorite is Kundang on Topanga near Devonshire. But the one that I go to regularly, because it's open more often, is My Thai on Devonshire near Owensmouth, both of which are just a 2 or 3 minute drive for me. Reliably good each and every time. Not a problem at all. Yeah, what's next for me? I keep tempting myself with FT8. I would have to buy the adapter to hook the FT2000 up to it. Not quite ready to make that leap, so I'm gonna stick with my own voice and eventually CW when I feel a little more solid in my head copy. I feel very confident about sending, but it's head copy. So I will hand it to Randy now, and then he will get to restart Zoom with us all. Randy, WV6UNG, KM6TVJ.
All day. We're done all day. 2 minutes and 10 seconds on Zoom. 8, 9, no, 7 goes the other way. Yeah, well, congrats on almost getting the WAS on sideband. I'm far, far, far from that. Although I do have it on FT8 many times over. 80, 40, 30, 20, 17, and 15. I've got them all done. All FT8 though. And I'm fairly close on 10 and 60 meters as well. But I want to finish the FT8 side of it. That's the easy thing to do. And then I'll probably go back into some sideband work and CW for sure. I like CW, and that's something I'm going to absolutely concentrate on, after I do this WAS thing, the remainder of that. So once that's
Bug zappers, hoorah. I lived on ranches my whole life, and you know, I have animals and creatures, and they attract flies. And we actually built a bug zapper. And this thing was, I mean, you could fry steaks on this puppy. And we used to, it just was strung with a ton of wire across the top of it. And we used to throw a hamburger down in the bottom to attract the flies. And you get a bunch of rodeo cowboys sitting around in an evening on a Saturday night with a case or two of beer and a bug zapper. And I mean, it was like we were in heaven. We had more fun than we deserved. And yeah, they get loud. Boy, they'll snap and pop. We had some cats, but they were barn cats. And with all the gunfire that went off at the ranch, we had a pistol and a rifle range. The cats didn't much care about the bug zapper. they were used to loud noises. So that was a neat. I love those things. We don't have much of any flies and such up here at all. So I'm not worried about that. But yeah, that West Nile is something to be a little bit concerned about. Besides, I figure if you have enough whiskey in your blood, in your system, the mosquitoes aren't going to bite you anyhow. KM6JS W6WDY.
Okay, Woody, W6WDY, KM6JS. Yeah, I hope so. That's all we need is big outbreaks of West Nile virus. This year is turning into some kind of thing I hope I wake up from, between the coronavirus and this latest rioting. And protests are fine, but they seem to turn into something else at night, and that's not very nice. And I wish it would get over. Well, I never ground crystals, Woody, but I used to rebuild fuses, because if you melt the end of the fuse and you get like a single strand of wire, it's good for about 1.5, 2 amps. And you can reuse the fuses over and over again. Resolder the little wire into it. When you heat it up, the glue melts and you can pop out the end. And you can rerun maybe 10 times before it completely flakes out. Because I used to have a CB radio on my 100cc motorcycle with an antenna thing I made out of a Radio Shack screw in the back of a CB radio antenna, and I grommet and I isolated it, and sometimes go up into the hills and talk to folks. And it was pretty weird, because I didn't know anybody else that had the CB radio on their motorcycle. Anyhow, over to Fred, K6CY.
Michael happy, and then Michael will remute me so I don't have to think about it. And we are all good. And my computer screen went blank, so I'm not net logging. Let's see what happened. Yeah, my computer's misbehaving, which is quite common. Okay, let's see. West Nile virus. Okay, bug zapper. I have a one of those. Let's see, what is it? It's frequencies you can't hear that's supposed to get rid of the bugs, but I never had any confidence that it did, because of course you can't hear it and you don't know what you're missing. So yeah, bug zapper. He messaged the wife to see if she'd go for it, but I don't look forward to the West Nile virus. Michael, thank you very much for the warning. I hadn't heard that, and I'm a big news hound, by the way. So, but of course the news people are so focused on one or two stories that of course we're not even being told what's really going on in the world, and I'm pissed off about that, but never mind. Okay, so 100cc motorcycle. Woody, I heard that you used to have Harleys, and so what does a 100cc motorcycle mean to you? Yeah, sorry, John. And John, I'm with you about the demonstrations. I'm pro-demonstration and anti-riot. So whatever they want to do with the rioters is fine with me, as long as it's nothing good. I had a 200cc scooter once in college when I was trying to avoid the expense of cars, and I was trying to live on what was it, $3,000 a year? It didn't work out too well. Okay, Fred Hughes, K6CY, passing it on to Jeffrey. I take it.
K6CY, KM6TVJ, thank you so much. I know nothing about motorcycles, so I'm not even going to go there. But I did get some good news the other day. I don't know, I think I told you guys about the Piper Cherokee that I get to fly from time to time. Well, the guy who owns it just went out and got his CFI ticket. So I've got my biannual flight review in the bag. So I'm pretty happy about that. And that's coming up this August. Although I do have to figure out how to get my medical done in the middle of all of this. Theoretically, I expired 2 days ago, but the FAA is giving everybody a 1 month grace period. It's either that or I have to go, whatever the self checkout thing where you go to any doctor. I will figure that out before the end of June, I guess, because I do love flying. I've tried to combine ham radio and flying on an HT, and I've made some contacts over Lancaster and stuff, but they complain about all the noise because I do not have a noise canceling microphone on my Baofeng. I guess it just doesn't come with that. So what are you going to do? That's about all I've got here. I'll hand it back to Randy, and I'm going to go get another drink. Randy, WB6UNG, KM6TVJ.
Okay, Geoff, KM6 TVJ WB6 UNG and everybody. Oh, let's see, what were we all talking about? Bug zappers? I don't know. Ultrasonic bug zappers, is that what you're talking about? Maybe it wasn't. Those things are putting out really high voltage. They zap, you know, they're thousands of volts, 10,000 volts or something. No current, but they screw up the mosquitoes pretty good. They get attracted by the blue light, I guess, and zap. Okay. Yeah, I guess we're going to be having issues with that through the summer. Mosquitoes and stuff. We haven't even talked about that kind of stuff. That's nasty. Nothing's good out there. Oh boy. Let's see what else. You were talking about flying. When my dad was young, he was a pilot, private plane with his brother, my uncle. They owned what do they have? They had a twin engine Apache, and they had a single engine Bonanza. And we would fly all over the place. We flew as a family to visit some friends, family friends in Chicago. That was a fun trip. I was a little kid. I remember taking that trip across the country, and took a couple of days, I think. I don't know where they stayed, but I remember stopping in Amarillo, Texas on the way there. Oh boy. And yeah, he used to fly up all the time to Las Vegas and up into the Bay Area. You know, so I never did get my pilot's license. I guess, I don't know why. I think that would have been a blast to do that. My uncle had passed away at a fairly young age, and I think my mother wanted my dad to sell the plane and, you know, not take the risk. And that's, I think, what happened. So when I was quite young, I do remember the flying experience a lot. We flew out of Santa Monica Airport, and he had a hangar there, and the planes was in there. That was really fascinating times. My dad owned a large commercial bakery, and some of the customers were in Las Vegas. So he would fly product out there in the plane. That was strange. I don't know why. I think it was just an excuse to fly, but you know, it was a business trip. Maybe they wrote it off. I'm not sure. I do remember that. And on the side of the plane, there was a logo of a rye bread. It was a rye bread. It was Country Club Breads, and they made specialty breads like rye breads and sourdoughs and French breads and Kaiser rolls, and I don't know, all kinds of strange stuff. It was mainly for the restaurant trade and some markets, but he would fly out to some customers out there, and I get to go along a couple times. And I was probably sub-teen. I was definitely sub-teen. I was maybe in the between 0 and what years would that be? Maybe 7, 8 years. Pretty young. But I do have fond memories of flying, and I would have loved to have done that myself later, but just never happened. Okay, don't have much else here. The dogs were happy. They got their cookie. Oh boy, it's so funny, the antics that they experience to, every night the same thing. At least they're happy. All right, let me pass it back up. I don't have anything else for radio discussion. No, nothing. Okay, K1MIXN, everybody, WB6UNG.
So if you can just dial your frequency down on your radio and the VFO until I sound natural. Don't go for normal, just go for natural. And let's see if that works out for you. But you sound a little high. So aviation, yeah, let's talk about that. So I quit the orchestra, my last orchestra job in 1975. And I was always been fascinated by airplanes. And I saw all the John Wayne movies where he was flying those blue airplanes all over the South Pacific and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool. So I decided to go out to the airport. I went out every day because I was unemployed at that point. Hey, I should go back to the airport. But at that point, I was, basically, less committed than I had been. I went out to the airport every day, and a month later, I got my private pilot's license. And after that, the instrument rating, then commercial license, and then multi-engine rating, and then CFI, CFI double I, CF multi-engine I, all the I's that you can think of, both I's, all I's all the time. Yeah, and both my wife Nyla and I wound up as ATP, which stands for Airline Transport Pilot. And, there are 3 grades of license: private pilot, commercial pilot, and ATP. So both Nyla and I are the highest grade of license. And it's really cool. I really, really enjoyed instruction. I specialized in a couple of different kinds of instruction. One was instrument, and the other was multi-engine, and the third was preparation for the ATP. And I was able to be so selective because, I was really working as a recording engineer in New York City, and did not have to rely on aviation for an income, which is very difficult. It's a really hard way to make a living. And so I was able to be very selective, and people would come to me for primary instruction. I would say, yeah, talk to this guy over here. Don't talk to me, because I just don't have time for that stuff. But aviation was fun. The airplane in the background here is a Merlin, a Fairchild Merlin 3B. And I lied last time I had that up. It's not 1,000 horsepower side. It's only 900 horsepower each side. Yeah, I'm sorry. And those are Garrett engines, TPE 331s. And they're single shaft turbines. And unlike the Pratt & Whitney, which are free turbines. And the big difference is primarily on startup. You can see these propellers are in flat pitch. And so when you shut down these engines, they go onto a start lock to keep them in flat pitch. And then when you start the engines, what's the matter, Fred? Am I talking too fast? So they're in flat pitch. And when you start the engine, every bit of mechanical parts of the engine are turning. So that means that your battery has to be incredibly strong. Like on a Pratt & Whitney, when you shut them down, the blades go into feather. And that's because they're not directly mechanically connected to the rest of the engine. They're being driven by a separate turbine. We have the power turbine, where all the fire happens. And then that makes a lot of wind, which drives the propeller. So you can start a Pratt & Whitney with a lot less voltage than you need for one of these turkeys. In fact, when we had to do a battery start, we would regard it as an emergency procedure on these turkeys and Garrett engines. All right, that's enough babbling for me. But you know, feel free to ask questions. W6WDY, why would I do that? K1MIX, over to you.
Okay, my K1IX will do 56 WDY. Well, I was actually blessed. I was born into aviation. My dad was a flight instructor. He flew P-51s in World War II, but he was such a good pilot. They made him an instructor and never got to go to war. Before he was due to go to Europe, they decided they quit fighting. But I grew up sitting on his lap, and God knows how many different airplanes. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't see over the instrument panel, but he used to let me fly, and he used to tell me to watch this and watch that. And so I grew up flying instruments. I think I was probably 10 years old before I noticed there was a horizon. My goodness gracious, that's pretty cool. So I was really lucky. I got my private pilot, I got my private, I can't remember how old I was, but when I got back from the military, I got my commercial and my instrument, but I never got my ATP, but my dad did have that. So I got to go fly with him on a few little jaunts. That was really pretty cool. Out of Lacey's hangar at Van Nuys. He would do some trips to Vegas, and I got to pretend that I was worthy of that. Beautiful airplane. Twin turbo, I don't remember. It was a Cessna, but it was big. It was big. I think it was a 9-passenger. But that's as far as I went. I couldn't, at the time when I got out of the military, you couldn't go into commercial aviation as an airline pilot without a degree, a college degree. And of course, that's all changed and gone down the hatch. But I flew up until about 20 years ago, and I haven't flown since. I miss it. I love to fly. I love to fly things that go fast, that you can turn upside down. Like, there's a few planes out there that we used to rent that they made you also have a parachute with. And but we used to have a lot of fun, and I miss it. But I'm not going to do it anymore. Over to you, John. KM6JS W6WDY.
All righty, thank you, Woody, W6WDY. It's KM6JS. You like to turn go upside down? I don't know. That scares me, but actually, I've never been in a small aircraft. I guess the smallest there, Chuck belonged to a club in small private jets. I guess they hold about, I don't know, 8-10 people maybe. There's only 3 of us, but that was kind of fun because they'd leave the cockpit doors open and there's no security and no pull your car up on the tarmac and they'd let you in the airplane and go park it for you. That was a lot of fun. You make fun of my 100cc motorcycle. When I was 16, that beats the hell out of walking. That's what I can tell you about that. Much better than walking. It was about 2 miles to school. I used to walk every day for several years. And because the bus would be half a mile the wrong way, and if I missed the bus, then I had to walk 2.5 miles to school. So I decided it was faster and easier if I just walked to school until I got the motorcycle, and that made life much easier. And it was a 2-cylinder, twin, so max speed of 69 miles an hour, and I did that once, downhill with the tailwind, and that was the only way. Otherwise, no chance. Anyhow, over to Fred, K6CY.
Michael Happy. Okay, there we go. Michael, John, I didn't mean to diss your motorcycle. That is a heck of a lot more than I had at 16. I had 2 feet and occasionally I could even put tennis shoes on them. So yeah, I used to walk 20 miles through the snow in Southern California to and from school. Let's see. Yeah, I was out of zone to go to my parents divorced when I was in high school, and so it was a very unsettled time. My father flew. Not that he shared it with anybody. He had guns. He was in the army, and World War II in Denver. He never actually faced an enemy because he was in the marching band. But imagine a pianist in the marching band. You put that together. He spent 2 weeks teaching himself the cornet so that he could actually be in the marching band. But he had high connections. Somebody like one of those big band jazz leaders helped him out and got him a marching band gig rather than cannon fodder gig. So he spent the war in Denver learning how to fly and shoot and all that stuff. Not that he ever shared it with his children. I found out when he was in his 70s that he had a flying license, and I never knew that about him. But he's long gone, so I forgive him everything. Bastard. Let's see. So Michael, was that earlier picture the vintage Vendange, or was that just the common everyday table wine Vendange? Somewhere in between, a little Chardonnay maybe? Oh, okay. Not even up to table standards. Okay. Do you need to make it really cold to drink it? Or do you drink it room temperature? Oh, okay. So you have no palate whatsoever is the key to that one. Okay. K6CY, passing it on to Jeffrey. And I wanted to say something about Jeffrey, but I don't remember what it was. So it's all yours. KM6TVJ, K6CY.
K6CY, K6, K6. Am I broadcast? Am I transmitting? Hello, hello, hello. This is Zoom only. I think the microphone is finally gone.
Not hearing you, Geoff.
K6CK. KM6. There. How's that? Good? Are we there? Yes? No? Maybe? Tune it up? Tune it down? What do you want me to do? Tune it down. All right. Down, down, down. How's this? Am I sounding a little better now? Up a bit, up a bit. How's that? All right. And now I will speak like this. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. All right, anyway. I had a whole list of things to say, and they were going to be pithy and deep and change everybody's life, and I've completely forgotten them now because, I've got a room full of audio engineers telling me which way to turn the dial. I got nothing else. I got a new thing I'm going to print on the DLP tomorrow. Very excited about that, and I'm going to fly a lot more in the coming weeks because it's summer, and that's what you do in the summer. What else? Michael, I love all that you got all the tickets that you could possibly get. As I've said, IFR is kicking my butt, and it's all the written. And from what I hear, every year they made the written harder and harder and harder, and I am paying the price for that. But that's okay. I guess it makes for better pilots. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Randy, WV6UNG, and if I remember stuff, I will come back with it. KM6TVJ.
Wait a minute. Now, there we go. KM6TVJ in the group WV6UNG. Yeah, your audio sounds really good right now. At least I think it sounds like you. It's not low, it's not high. Yeah, it's about right. So cool. I know I had a lot of problem on this rig for quite a while. The receive and transmit frequencies didn't seem to line up on 2 meters. And I guess it's okay now. I haven't had any complaints lately. about this particular radio, this ICOM 706 Mark II-G. For whatever reason, maybe it had sat for so long. This radio was probably, it's owned by the club actually, and I'm kind of long-term borrowing it right now for 2 meters. It's a shack in a box. I don't need the low band part because I got my own rig for that. But 2 meters, my radios one by one croaked, and so this one came along at the right time. But it seemed to have an issue with being on the right frequency. When I listened, it just wasn't on the same transmit. But over time, it seemed to self-corrected. Maybe the use of it, the capacitors got normalized in there, and everything just sort of mellowed. It had probably sat in a box for a long, long time. Wasn't in use. So I think that's probably something to do with it. Let's see, anything else? I don't have too much else exciting this evening. It's been very good. We got a nice group tonight, and it's 10:07. What time do we start? 9-ish? Yeah, that's about right. We got 6 minutes left on Zoom, second session. So that's cool. Yeah, I definitely want to try Zoom on one or more of the club's nets. We can maybe try it tomorrow. Maybe I'll do that. We'll open a Zoom session and just see how it goes. And if anybody wants to try, they can try it. If, it may or may not be for everybody. We certainly love it on the round table. So, and we definitely love the Zoom, just the Zoom meetings themselves, our club breakfast, quote unquote. They're not really breakfast, 9:30 in the morning. We will try to create one, like I mentioned on the net tonight, if anybody was listening at the end there. I'd like to try to, we'll have a club meeting itself on what's the date? The third Friday of the month. So that means it'll be probably at the same time that this Zoom meeting is, but let's see, when is it? June, the third Friday, the 19th of June, which would have been our standard club meeting, those that go to it. And we have not had a club meeting since this whole pandemic thing started. So we'll try to do a Zoom thing, and it'll be on field day because, we just want to get that under control. And then the following weekend is field day. So yeah, it's going to be interesting and see how it all plays out. We'll try to get the documentation up there somehow to people so they get a handle of this. It's easy, but a lot of people have never done it, so it'll freak them out, I think. But we'll try to make it as easy as possible for folks to participate. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Mike, and this will be my last round, I think. I'll give everybody a last chance there. K1MIX in the group, WV6UNG.
Thank you, and it's been great. I really had a great time tonight, and all these wonderful ideas that the club is coming up with, I think it's brilliant. And I say that without hesitation or reservation. And I'm glad to see that it's happening. All good, and look forward to all of it. And the BFR, yeah, I haven't had a BFR in a long, long time. I can't remember, probably 10 years or so. But the last time I did it with one of my former students. And he was very forgiving. It's a guy that I actually worked with in the studio, and he's wanted to learn to fly, and so I taught him to fly. Blah blah blah. Got instrument rating and that kind of thing. In the aviation parlance, I got him his instrument rating. Of course, he had to do all the work, had to do the flying, but I got him his instrument rating, so it's all good. And just as one little cherry on the cake here, yes. Both Nyla and I are ATPs, and she was a captain in a corporate jet. She would fly down to the Bahamas. I'd be in New Jersey shoveling snow, and she would call me and said, "Hey, bad news. The owner of the airplane wants to stay another couple of days on the beach." And I would say, "Okay, probably will have the driveway cleared by the time you get back." 7-3 all around, guys. W6WDY to take it. This will be my last time. Oh wait, I wanted to do one thing here, and that is do a little thing on Zoom. Got nothing to do with any kind of wisdom I may or may not have, but I'm going to send it over to Woody, W6WDY K1MIX.
So, John, I've flown in 2 single-engine planes in my lifetime, and the first one was in the 70s, and it was like, I don't know if anybody, are you old enough to remember soapbox racers? You know, you'd get a soapbox and a pair of skates and a board and make a little racer to run down. Anyway, this plane reminded me of soapbox racers. It was rattling and the wind was blowing through it, and I was amazed that it could stay in the air. But it was flown by a couple of Israeli terrorists who were hiding out in the Fairfax district. And somehow I connected with them and ended up in the plane flying over the valley and UCLA and back again. And that was the first time I was in the air in a single engine plane. And didn't scare me out of flying, but I didn't fly again in a single engine plane until fairly recently in Hawaii, where I pretended I flew the plane for an hour while the instructor actually did the flying, and flew over lots of beautiful landscape, 5,000-foot mountain and waterfalls and rivers, and actually my own place there in Princeville on the North Shore, and back again to the airport. It was quite thrilling. And if I was a younger man, I would kill anybody and steal anything to be able to fly. But that's another life for another time. Let's see, what else is going on here? Oh, Michael. So my understanding is that Nyla is certified for jets and you are not. Is that true? Oh my God, how did I dig up that piece of information? But anyway, night all, 73, it's been wonderful.